Seems like a cold sweat creeping across my brow. Yeah, in the heat of the night.
In the Heat of the Night. Now here is a classic worth watching, and a classic worth preserving. This is one of the most influential and most interesting films I've ever seen to have come out of the 1960s. Not only is the film interesting because of the great story, or the acting, or the structure, or the quality of the film itself, it's also a very important film because this film was one of the first of its kind to show a strong African American character that was in a position of high power and high intellect. Oh, and there's two other little things that I find fascinating about this. One, it was good enough to have its own series, and two, it was another American classic directed by a Canadian film director. But on to the story itself. We open up with a train pulling into the station in the dead of night. At the same time, a young police officer, played by an equally young Warren Oates, is finishing off his patrol, and to his horror, he discovers a dead body in the middle of the street. Keep in mind, this is a good old boys town called Sparta, in Mississippi, no less. And the chief of police is named Gillespie. Bill Gillespie. He's determined to find who the murderer is. He first has the policeman look around the town for any vagrants, any new faces that look suspicious. And of course, because the newcomer is black, he's immediately taken in without any questioning or without any idea what he's done, until Gillespie starts talking to him. It turns out that he's a cop. That's right, straight from Philadelphia, special homicide expert and detective Virgil Tibbs, played by Sidney Poitier. Because the sheriff is inexperienced, he asks Tibbs to look at the body. But because he has his prejudices and is a bitter kind of guy, he doesn't give Tibbs an easy time of it. Based on the treatment he's been given so far, Tibbs decides to get the hell out of there and not care about what's going on. But his boss prompts him to stick around because he is the most intelligent of the cops in that town. When the widow of the murdered person hears about what's going on, and when Tibbs proves another suspect's innocence, she adamantly states that if Tibbs is not in charge of the murder investigation, she will withdraw all support from the town. This is a problem because the man in question was a very wealthy businessman providing a lot of money to the town. And since the widow controls the company now, she can decide whether she wants to stay there or not. Now that's a big pill to swallow, and the sheriff has to swallow his pride and his prejudices and try and work with Tibbs. Of course, being a small hick town in the South, it's not a very easy task for Tibbs. Many times he's threatened with racial slurs and with threats against his own life. But Tibbs is no pushover. When the sheriff gets jealous of Tibbs' spotlight and tries to insult him with a racial slur, Tibbs defiantly states the film's classic line. When a rich old bigot attacks him and slaps him around, he slaps right back. When 4 white guys corner him with sticks and chains, he picks up an iron pipe and gets ready to defend himself. With this role, Sidney Poitier provided a much-needed role model for young people at the time to look up to. This is a man threatened with racism and hate and even murder, and yet he will not back down, and he will always defend himself and what his values are. At the same time, we get to look into the character of Gillespie as well. This is a very interesting character, and it won Rod Steiger an Oscar. For good reason, because Rod Steiger is a really good character actor, and we see a clear change of heart as the film goes along. At first, he's bitter and angry and jealous, but as he realizes Tibbs' worth, and he realizes that he needs Tibbs to help him with the murder investigation, he gets to know this man who he didn't know before. And there are moments in the film where he comes to Tibbs' defense, and slowly but surely the two men find some even ground to stand on. This film does a great balancing job here in giving a moral lesson in a very interesting thriller. So in between the conspiracy theories, the speculations, the unwanted pregnancy, the violent mobs walking around, and the various twisted Southern characters, we get a very interesting look at how racial barriers can be crossed in favor of working together. This film still resonates in our time because it's still relevant. It's an example of how we can put aside the past and work together to improve the future. And it's a great film to boot. Kudos to Sidney Poitier, Warren Oates, Rod Steiger, Canadian director Norman Jewison, the rest of the cast and crew of this great film, and Ray Charles for providing us with a wonderful theme song.
When I did sell my soul for just a little light in the heat of the night. In the heat of the night, I've got trouble wall to wall. Oh yes, I